In this presentation, we're going to take a look at a purchase journal. In this case, a purchase journal dealing with inventory as the primary purchase that we will be making. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. We're going to use the information on the left side. We're going to enter that into the purchase journal here. Then at the end of the month, we will record the journal entry related to the purchases for the entire month in the general journal, taking that information and posting it then to the general ledger. That general ledger then being used to generate the trial balance. So remember that this is going to be something we will use in more of a manual type of system. To set up the purchase journal. If we had an automated system, it still is useful to know this information because we might want to generate reports in a similar fashion and know how different types of accounting systems would work. What are the similarities? What are the differences in different types of accounting systems? Now here we're going to deal with the inventory. So a company that has inventory, then the major purchase would probably be then inventory. So we're just going to demonstrate the inventory type of purchases here. And that's going to be our primary account. Note that when we have purchases, it really kind of is the accounts payable journal that we're dealing with. If we made a purchase for cash, in other words, it would not be in the purchases journal, but in the cash payment journal. And also note that there could be other things that go to accounts payable that aren't strictly inventory purchases. However, when we're dealing with a company that has inventory, it could very well be the case that most of their purchase items will be inventory, and that's what we'll demonstrate in terms of the purchases here. So we're going to say first on 7.5, we're going to have to name the vendor L, H, and G here because we need to track it in the subsidiary ledger, and that's the main thing to keep in mind. Then we're just going to record that amount one time. That's what's saving us time by recording it here rather than having two transactions or two accounts affected, posting it and creating the trial balance from it each time. We'll just record it into this one time here, one area, that representing, it should be 1500, that representing a debit to inventory and a credit to accounts payable. It hasn't been recorded yet, of course. We will record it at the end of the month. Then we're going to have on 7.6, we probably should do the subsidiary. I will do the subsidiary ledger as we go here since the purchase journal is going to be related to the subsidiary ledger. So we won't post it to the general ledger right now. We will post it to the subsidiary ledger for accounts payable, representing who we owe so we know who we need to pay at a later time. The subsidiary ledger is going to be down here, so it's down here to the right. Here it is the subsidiary ledger. We are in L, H, and G. We want to be on the credit side, so we're here in AQ32. AQ32, we're going to do this with a journal entry equals. I'm going to use the arrows, so we're going to go left. We're going all the way left here. With the arrows, going to scroll up, and we want to pick up this 1,500 and enter. Now that is a lot of scrolling. Note that we also need it as a credit here, so I'm going to double click on it. I need to flip that sign to make it a negative. So we're going to double click on it. I'm going to go right before the W or before the equals and hit negative, and that'll just basically multiply times -1 or flip the sign for a credit. So we want the brackets around it. Now you could type in just a -1,500 here. I do recommend using formulas and maneuvering around the worksheet. It is possible also to just enter equals negative W4 and enter. Okay, so that amount plus what is in these other vendors adds up here. It's red currently because that amount does not match what is on our general ledger or our trial balance. It won't until the end of the month when we enter this data to there. So the next one, we're going to say A company and 900. So we're buying more inventory. This time we just bought 900 of inventory. This represents the debit to inventory and credit to a payable. We're not going to record it now to the general ledger, but we will record it to the subsidiary ledger. So we're going to go to the accounts payable subsidiary ledger once again, and that was A company, I believe. I hope that's what I'm remembering. So A company. If we scroll down, we have accounts payable subsidiary ledger, A company, debit side, or we want to be on the credit side. We're going to be here then in AU32, AU32. We're going to do this with instead of equals, I'm going to select negative so that when we pull that over, it'll flip the sign. Note it behaves like an equal sign when I go left it looks just like an equal. It's just going to take this information and flip the sign. I'm scrolling up to find that information. We want this 900. It's in W5. So enter. Once again, we could just type in a negative 900, but I recommend formulas. If we also could type in equals negative W5 or just negative W5, Excel will just put in the equals as it did here. And of course, we still are not going to be in balance. In other words, it's not tying out to what is on the trial balance until we do the journal entry at the end of the month. Next one, we're going to say on 7/8, we have B company, and that's going to be for 700. So B company, 700, here's the 700. We're going to post that once again to the subsidiary ledger. So we're going to scroll to the right. We're going to scroll down. Finding our subsidiary ledger, we're looking for B company. So there's A, here's B. It's in the credit side. We want to be in credit side AQ42. We're in AQ42. So instead of hitting equals, we're going to put negative because we want to flip the sign. We're going to scroll to the left and we will scroll up looking for that amount that we just entered. That's 700. There it is in W6 and enter. So it took that 700, flipped the sign, made it a negative. We could just type in a negative 700, or we could type in equals or just negative W6 and enter, and that'll be it. If we add up what's in our accounts payable account, it's still not in balance with what we have in the trial balance. So we'll keep going here. Next one we got, it won't be until we do the entry, of course, at the end. 7/18, we've got another L, H, and G, 300. 300 there, so we're going to post this once again, not to the general ledger, but to the subsidiary ledger, and then we will do the journal entry for the general ledger. Scrolling to the right, going down, looking for our subsidiary ledger. We're looking for L, H, and G, this account. It's going to be on the credit side, going up once again. We're going to go to the next available spot in AQ33. AQ33. Instead of hitting equals, I'm going to put negative to put this formula, then scroll left to find this information, scrolling up, and we want to pick up that 300, this 300 there in W7, enter. So there we have it. So now L, H, and G, we owe them 1,800. If we add all this up, those three accounts, it adds up to this 3,400. That then doesn't match what is on our trial balance in the accounts payable, and it won't until we do the journal entry, as we will do now. So we're going to sum this information up and then do the journal entry. So we'll put an underline here first. I'm going to say home tab just for the formatting purposes of it, font and underline. Then we're going to put the total here, so we'll say total, and then we'll sum this up. So I'm just going to sum up these columns. So we're going to say equals SUM, and we'll sum up the 1,500 down to the 300 and enter. So that, of course, just said 1,500 plus 900 plus 700 plus 300 gives us 3,400. Going to do the double underline here by going to the Home tab, Font Group, Underline, but we want the double underline. There's the double underline. Now we're going to do our journal entry related to the purchase journal for the entire month, and then post the entire month worth of purchases to the general ledger, that then being used to create the trial balance. So we're going to say this on 7/30, and we will say that we are going to do this journal entry. Inventory has been going up. We've been buying inventory on account, so for accounts payable. So here's the inventory. It has a well, it should have a debit balance. It doesn't, because we did the purchase journal, the sales journal first. We, in other words, recorded the decrease due to sales before recording the purchase journal, but we're doing both of these as of the end of the month, and typically inventory has a debit balance and should be going up now in the debit direction, and therefore we do the same thing to it, another debit. So we're going to copy this inventory. We're going to paste this in Z11, right click and paste 1, 2, 3. So in other words, this inventory looks really funny right now because we're recording all the journals into the general journal at the end of the time period, and we did the sales journal before the purchase journal. This will flip to what it should look normal as, which is a debit balance once we record this amount. So we are in A11. I'm going to pull this number over. We will do that. I'll do that with a formula. Equals that 3,400. Then we want a credit of the same amount. I'm going to do that with a little formula, that being negative of that number. And we'll just take that number, flip the sign, putting brackets around it. Now we just need to put the account here on what that's going to be, and that's going to be accounts payable. So remember, we didn't pay cash. Cash didn't go down to buy this inventory. We put it on accounts. Accounts payable is a liability. Liabilities have credit balances. We need to make it to go up by doing the same thing to it, another credit. So I'm going to right click and copy accounts payable. We're going to put that in Z12, right click and paste 1, 2, 3. Let's indent that. So I'm going to go to the Home tab, Alignment, Increase Indenting, or you can just double click on it, spacebar 3 times, and there's our journal entry. So we have this. We're going to post it now to the general ledger. So here's the inventory account that we need to post. Here it is on the trial balance. The third account on the trial balance. So it's going to be the third account on the general ledger. So cash, accounts receivable, inventory. So we're going to be in AH24, say equals, and we'll scroll back up just a bit and pick up that 3,400 in AA11 and enter. So once again, you could type it in there, but I highly recommend formulas in this case for sure. And if you double click on it, it says equals AA11. Formulas really help if there's a problem because we know where that came from. So if something's out of balance, we can tie it out a lot easier with formulas. And then accounts payable is here. Accounts payable is here on the trial balance. It's the first orange account, first liability account. It will also be the first orange or liability account in the general ledger. Here are all the asset accounts. Here's the liability account. We want to be on the credit side. So we are in AQ21. AQ21. We're going to say equals and scroll to the left. And we're going to pick up that 3,400. Note we don't need to put a negative here in front of it because on the journal entries, we made the credit a negative here. So whenever we post something to this general ledger, we don't ever need to put any negatives. It should be done here as we make the journal entries. And enter. And so there we have it, 3,400. That 3,000, and you could just type in negative 3,400 or equals AB12, and it should pull that over. Although I recommend formulas. And so if we scroll back over, here's the 3,400 on the trial balance. We are back in balance, debits equaling the credits. Note there's no effect on net income as we post this because these are the purchase of inventory, not the sale of inventory. We're going to record it as an asset, capitalizing it in a sense, and then we record the sales component as we did when we did the purchase journal in the form of cost of goods sold. So our transaction here that we did this time did not affect any of the income statement accounts. It was affecting inventory, which will be an expense at the point of sale in the form of cost of goods sold. If we scroll down here, we can also see that hopefully, I'm hoping that this turned green because now this adds up to 3,400 in the subsidiary ledger. In other words, of the 3,400 we owe, this is who we owe it to. L, H, and G, 1,800, A, 900, and 700 to B. That 3,400 then matching what is on the trial balance and matching what is in the general ledger accounts. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.